What is going on, beautiful people? I hope you're all having a fantastic day. Today we are going to be talking about the pros and cons of living in Broomfield, Colorado. And hey, if this is your first time to the channel and you're looking to learn a little bit more about the Denver area and some of the surrounding suburbs, kind of like Broomfield today, make sure and hit the subscribe button down below, tap the bell icon for notifications. That way you can be notified anytime I come out with a video and you can be the first to learn about things going on in Denver. And if you didn't already know, my name is Michael and I get people reaching out all the time. Sometimes they're just interested in Denver or they have questions about moving here. Whether that's 1 month, 2 months, 10 months, whatever it may be, my contact information is below, so feel free to reach out. You can text, email, call, whatever that might be, and I'm more than happy to help you in whatever way I can. But without further ado, let's get right into the video. Now, if you aren't already familiar with Broomfield, Colorado, it's kind of on the northwestern edge of Denver. It's kind of north of Westminster and southeast of Boulder, Colorado, and it kind of sits actually right in between Boulder and Denver. So it's kind of right in this area, and it kind of goes up north. It kind of angles up towards I-25. Has a population of about 75,000 people, and they're quite scattered. So it's kind of a nice area because some places will be a little bit denser and some places will be a little bit more spread out. So if you're looking for a little bit of variation in that, and you know, maybe you want a little bit more land or you just want a larger yard, maybe Broomfield's a good place to check out. But let's get right into the pros. So the first thing I'll talk about is that it is affordable. And when I say that, you're gonna be a little bit like, wait a second. The median single family home is about 700,000. You're like, hold on, wait a second, 700,000 is affordable. You know, compared to a lot of places, not necessarily, but it's right in, it's not too far from Boulder, Colorado. You know, Denver's right here, Boulder, and then you have Broomfield. But if you are looking to work in Boulder and you're commuting, Boulder's median home price is about 1.3 million. So if you're looking for a very small commute to Boulder, 700,000 all of a sudden seems very cheap. Compared to the rest of Denver, it's kind of a little bit above the average of what you're going to be looking for. But for the most part, if you're trying to go to Boulder or you're going to be in between, it's not a bad place to post up. And the next thing I'll talk about is it's right in between Boulder and Denver. So if you are wanting to enjoy a little bit of both, you don't necessarily have to choose one or the other. Now, if you're living in Denver, it's really difficult to get up to Boulder all the time. If you're trying to do stuff in Boulder, maybe you have a lot of friends, maybe you have friends that go to CU and you just want to go up there. Maybe you're going to some college games. You know, you don't have to pick or choose in between because you're kind of right in the middle. You have equal distance to both, so you have access to each of them just as much as the other. So if you're also working a job that requires you to kind of go back and forth, it's a good spot to post up just because you're right in the middle and your commute's not going to be very far either which way. There are a lot of great things in Boulder and Denver, so being able to enjoy both is just a great benefit of living in Broomfield. The next thing I'll talk about is just your access to breweries, cafes, restaurants, shopping, all that stuff. You have a lot in Broomfield, especially kind of the part that's a little bit more closer to the Denver area, not necessarily the northern part, but you're really close to a lot of that stuff. So you're not gonna have to go outside very far. If you're going out for a beer, you're just trying to enjoy, you know, a night out with some friends, plenty of places to choose from, plenty of great food, lots of family-owned local restaurants. You also have all your chains. So many options within Broomfield, and you're not gonna have to go very far. You're just gonna get on your phone, type in food, you're gonna have plenty of options. You just kind of randomly pick one, look at some of the reviews, make sure it has at least 3 stars probably, and you're good to go. And the last thing I'll talk about is you're very close to the mountains. You're kind of on the northern side of Denver, so it's a little bit different than, you know, if you're kind of down where Golden is, just because the way to get in the mountains is a little bit different. But if you're somebody who's moving to Colorado and you're like, you know, I'm gonna hit the mountains every weekend and you're gonna be skiing, you're gonna buy the pass, you're gonna get all new gear, all that stuff, then this might be a good place for you because you have pretty good access to the mountains. Or in the summer, if you're trying to go on plenty of hikes, maybe you're taking your dog out for some trail runs, whatever it may be, you have really close access to that stuff. So you have plenty of options like Colorado Hills Open Space, Rocky Flats National Wildlife Refuge, Stanley Lake Regional Park, and the Flatirons all the way from Boulder. You're really close to a lot of those things, so you don't have to go very far if you don't want to get all the way into the mountains for something. So it's easy to go do a quick hike, maybe you're just walking around, have a picnic, going fishing, all that stuff. You don't have to go far at all if you're just trying to do something for an afternoon. You can just kind of make a small day out of it and go do that rather than spending a day all the way from the mountains. But if you did want to go all the way to the mountains, it's not very far. All right, now let's get into the cons. All right, so the first thing is traffic. You know, if you're right in between Boulder and Denver, you're kind of smack dab in the middle. So it's going to be a little bit busier during some of those peak times, just kind of people commuting back and forth. And, you know, a lot of people just like to go to Boulder from Denver, and a lot of people like to go to Denver from Boulder. So you're gonna have a lot of people just going to events. So, you know, if there's, you know, big concert going down in Denver, there's a game going on, same thing up in Boulder. If there's a, you know, college game going on, you're probably gonna have a lot of traffic going each way. So just something to expect and just deal with. Within Broomfield itself, you're probably not gonna have a whole lot of traffic, but once you get into those major roads, it's probably gonna get a little bit busier. The next thing is that you're kind of far from a lot of the things in Denver. You know, a lot of the stuff that goes on in Denver is kind of on the south side. You know, you have Denver Tech Center, Red Rocks, it's kind of on the south side of Denver. And, you know, a lot of people live out on the east side of Denver. So you might have a lot of friends kind of on that southeastern side. So if you're planning on going to the south side, you're gonna have a lot of traveling, and that's probably the worst part to go through as far as traffic goes if you're trying to go through at some of the busier times. So even though you're close to Boulder, which is nice, you're still far from some of the other things going on in Denver. And the last thing, I know it's kind of funny because I actually listed it as a pro, but it's kind of expensive. So, you know, it's affordable if you are keeping in mind that Boulder is 1.3 million, but if you have no intention of living in Boulder and you don't care to live in Boulder, and you're not ever gonna go to Boulder, then it doesn't really make sense to live in Broomfield, because there's a lot of cheaper areas really close to Broomfield that you could take a look at. You know, just south is Westminster. You can go a little bit east over to Thornton. You know, there's a few other areas just around, and even kind of like the northeastern side of Broomfield's a little bit cheaper than kind of that more central spot. So for the most part, if you have no reason to be going up to Boulder and no reason to be in Broomfield specifically, you can find a little bit more affordable areas around that area. And Broomfield's just a little bit more expensive because it's kind of right in the middle of those two areas. So with all that being said, I mean, there's definitely positives and negatives to living in Broomfield. I guess, you know, you have a lot of access to a lot of outdoor stuff, but at the same time, you're kind of far from a lot of the things going on in Denver. So, you know, it's great if you are going back and forth to Boulder, and I'd say that's probably the biggest reason that somebody would want to live in Broomfield. But if that's not the case, maybe it's not for you unless you have a very specific reason for living in Broomfield. And don't forget, if you're planning on moving to Denver, or maybe I just didn't answer a question that you might have about Broomfield or some of the surrounding areas, my contact information is below, so feel free to reach out, call, email, text, whatever's best for you. More than happy to help in whatever way I can. But until next time, I will see you guys later.